Hello, the internet, and welcome back to Road Hazard. On today's episode, it's another one of those I finished editing the last video 2 minutes ago videos. But we're here. We're here now. And we're finally putting headers on this car. That's right. These headers that we prepared for installation 263 million years ago are finally going on the car. Fairly simple and straightforward in theory.
Are you sure about that?
Remove old manifold. Remove old manifold. Install header. And then connect pipelators. Now, just looking at this already, I'm pretty sure I got the wrong adaptee doohickeys, and I might need some different clamps. But we'll get to that. So what I've done is purchased things. Little pipe and clamps and a little expander just in case. And in the trunk of the automobile is the piece de resistance for doing something like this when you're too lazy to take photos of what you might need. The flexo pipe. How? Flexo pipe, aka the snuffleupagus. So we're gonna use that combination of things to make headers happen. And we've got collector extensions there. Like I said, we've got some extra bits and bops in here, a couple of different adapters. We're not going to end up using all of them, I'm realizing now, just because size differences, no biggie. But we're also going to have to cut out some of this old pipe. And this is what I was talking about pictures. If I had taken photos of all this stuff and then gone to the store, I could have bought a couple of 45s and whatever and made that look okay. Which I may do in the future, but for now, for the sake of, not having this take 9 days, I will be doing it with the Flexolite pipe. So we will disconnect the bolts that hold the headers or the exhaust pipes to the manifolds, let them dangle to give us some room, and then we'll cram the headers in there, and wherever they stop is where we'll start our new pipe. When I had these manifolds put in with this exhaust, I kind of assumed they would use the same size pipe as the rest of the exhaust, which is 2.5 or 2 1/4 inches. Instead, they necked it way down to like a 2 1/8, maybe 2, and it's tiny. And then it gets smaller as you go forward. So that's not good. Not good for flow. So we're going to be freeing up quite a bit of movement here, and anybody who's ever been around cars before will know that headers add power, and when you're in the horsepower range that this car is in, that 25 to 30 horsepower is something you will feel in the butt dyno, I'll tell you that. So I'm really excited to get these things installed finally, not just for horsepower but also for sound quality. Now, this car sounds
is good, but it can be better.
And to make that happen, of course, headers. So we're going to start by dismantling the current exhaust system, we will disconnect the 2 down pipes, and then we will pull all of the bolts out of the log manifold on that side and the little adapter-rooney plate there. And this other completely different manifold, we'll pull that one off as well. And because of our exhaust system here, we will be creating some spacers that'll take up the slack in those 2 bolts there to make all of this rigmarole work. And we'll be doing that with hardware store stuff, which is just galvanized pipe. We'll measure and cut to length with an actual tape measure, mind you, and then we'll get all that on there. Okay, that one took a little bit of something, but the horsepower Murderer 9000 is off. Got the other header here. We gotta move the existing exhaust, so we'll pull the 2 rear hangers off and let it dangle a little bit. This thing here gave me trouble, big time. I had to hit it with the old heat juice combo back and forth 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 times. And that bolt in there was an Allen key, or an Allen bolt rather. And it was in there pretty tight, so that is J-shaped now. I had to try it with a socket with an extension and another socket on top of that to give me enough leverage to break it loose. Luckily it didn't break, but it did fight. But we got it out. But now that it is out, there's 2 bolts that hold the mufflers up. You can see one of them there. You just got to take that little bracket, one on either side, and that'll let us hang this down so we have room to scoop the header in and see if it'll fit. All right, test fit number 1. Jack stands go, and it's not enough. Yay! Great. Good thing this is the hard side, right? I kind of thought to myself for a second, maybe it would make more sense to see how this side fits before I go all the way down there, just in case I need to do it again. So I'm going to pull all the exhaust bolts out of this side and the plugs and the wires, and then we're gonna have to move a bunch of this AC stuff, I'm sure. So we'll loosen the belt on the compressor and pull the bolts out of that, swing that probably over here somewhere on a towel or something. Same with the dryer. We'll unplug it and remove the clamp, and then pull it out of there. We can't really move this one that far out of the way because the way it's plumbed in, but we can get it away from right there at least, and then we should be okay. So I'm gonna move all the AC stuff and pull the bolts out of that before we go to the parts store, just to see what we're working with here. Okay, I got most everything out of the way here. Still running into issues getting them in. I don't know how these are gonna fit. I mean, I'm gonna try and trust the process here, but it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know, guys. Not so sure. You guys may remember we had that motor mount failure. I think I got one from the parts store, so you know it's probably for the complete wrong car. But it looks pretty close anyway. So I'm going to pull that other mount out. I already pulled the hose clamp off, which broke, by the way. Absolutely exploded. Probably should have used 2 clamps, but we'll throw a new motor mount in there while we've got it all apart. It's easy to get to. Part of the reason I decided to do that right now is because I'm going to try pull the motor up just a little bit to give me some more room to get that header in. It's been a day, guys. All right, listen. Every second of this process, I fought tooth and nail. I'd like to point out, last time I made a video, well, recorded a segment, it was daytime. Hours I spent fighting this driver's side header. I did eventually figure out the way to get it in there. I had to remove a bunch of stuff. I had to remove the Z-bar. I had to remove the proportioning block on the chassis, the dipstick tube, the old exhaust, obviously. Just so much stuff. I did get the new motor mount in too. You can see it down there while it was up. That was a gargantuan pain in the ass. They do fit in the car, but I got the very distinct feeling if you had an automatic, this process takes 1/8 as long as it does if you got a stick. So buyer beware. That being said, we did get them in. I had to go get header bolts. And I just got back to the house. I got a new oil filter too, since we dinged up that other one. And another quart of oil, just some miscellaneous stuff. But now we can finally start reassembly with the new exhaust. And that'll start with us coming down here, throwing on those collector extenders, and then cutting the old exhaust back to where the pipe is larger, which will be right about here, and then splicing that to the header with the flex pipe, which again will be temporary until we put some real pipes in it. And then the other thing is we got to make spacers for the air conditioning brackets with those pieces of galvanized pipe that we bought. Fuck, that's good. So we gotta do that first. Driver side's pretty close. We don't have a lot of clearance for nothing, but it's in there. Passenger side, better, obviously, of course, passenger side. But they're in. That side's got all the bolts in it. This side's missing too, but that's because it's the two that hold that bracket, which we will need to make our spacers for. Next, I'm going to throw all the spark plugs back in it. I'm going to reinstall the AC stuff. We're going to throw the Z-bar back in it, because then at least at the bare minimum, technically we could drive the car. It would be super loud, but we could absolutely
get away with driving it like that. All the plugs are reasonable, except for one. I will need like 4 new spark plug wires. That one and that one, I'll need 90s to come up through the header here. These 2 are fine. On this side, I'll need 2 as well for this one and probably for this one. I've been hitting this header tube with the hammer to try and clear a little bit more space. I pulled the dipstick tube out just a second ago to give myself some more room for that because the end of the boot was pressed up against the header tube when it was on, and I couldn't even get it onto the socket. I'd use a wrench. It's kind of annoying, so I just took it back out, took it off, and started hitting it. So I'm going to continue bashing it until we get some good clearance, and we'll be fine. And if you're watching saying, oh, well, you're going to kill horsepower by hitting the header tube, you're going to ruin the flow. There's a great episode of Engine Masters where they absolutely destroy a set of headers on an engine on the dyno in order to prove that wrong. And it is wrong. It doesn't kill any power at all. So we're going to commence bashing with the ball peen and make some room for that plug. And then we might not even have to put a different wire on that one. We might only need 3. Still gonna have to buy a set of 8, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So bashing helped a lot. I could probably get a socket on it, and I can get the spark plug wire on it. It's super close. So what I think I'm gonna do is get one of those like spark plug boot heat shield things, or maybe I'll go get some of those ceramic spark plug boots when I go get the other plug wires, and then we should be okay. I probably should put those little heat thingies on all 8, but you know, nah. I think one more trip to the parts store and we should be okay. How many times have you said that on a project, huh? Wouldn't you know it? Parts stores close sometimes. I'm glad I looked before I left, because I would have been very sad. Oh, I know what we can do. We'll do some back-breaking labor, put the dipstick back in. Alright, good job, everybody. Good job. Well done. In all seriousness, I think we will go ahead and cut the exhaust, and then we can throw the starter back in as well. So, what I think we're going to do with the pipes is, see how it's really small, like 2-inch, there it is, 2-inch pipe, pretty much from where they spliced from the manifold all the way to the existing exhaust that was on the car. And they just necked it way down and then bubblegum welded some crap in there. I mean, I like the 2.5-inch pipe. I'm not so big on the 2-inch pipe. It's the following day. I got to a point where I didn't have parts and I couldn't grind on anything, so we dropped the car back down, pushed it into the garage, shut it, and called it a night. But now that it's the next day and it's about noon or so, I think, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, it's daytime is what I'm getting at. We can start to do a lot of the louder stuff. So before we put the car back up in the air, I figured I'd do the spark plug wires because they're right here and, you know, I don't have to stand on that damn stool. I went and got a set of 8. I was like, yeah, I need a set of plug wires for a 75 Monte Carlo, and they're like, no, we don't have those. I was like, okay, what about a 69 Corvette? No, we don't have those. Okay, what about an 85 Mercury Cougar? No, we don't have those. 87 C10. Oh, what do you know? We have those in stock. So if they say no, just keep asking until they say yes. All right. I'm just about done up top, I think. Plug wire is routed in. Heat shields on the ones that might be trouble. Got my spacers cut out of that galvanized pipe. I did have to play Village Blacksmith on this tube here. You can kind of see that big old dent to get the bracket to clear, but no big deal. It did clear just fine once I smacked it enough times. Got all the wires routed on this side too. I think I got them all, you know, out of the way of the steering and the clutch and all that nonsense. That's all hooked back up, connected, belts tight, good to go. So I'm gonna pick the car back up, put it back on the jack stands, and then we'll crawl underneath, and we've got more cutting and grinding to do. We gotta nip the corner off of the big, huge machined aluminum block on our starter. It's got 2 sets of bolt holes. We're using the inner set, so I can basically cut off the whole lip there to make pulling the starter in and out easier, which I will. I'll just cut that corner off. And then we, of course, have the exhaust, the rest of the exhaust to do. So let's get the car in the air and get started on that. When I was in the Army and I had just gotten my Duster, that was my first muscle car. And I did this same upgrade. Headers. Ow. Cut off a bunch of skin. Holy shit, that really hurt. Owie. That was a good pinch. That's a lot of blood. Alright, we'll finish that story after I wrap this in a Band-Aid. I'm back. It's wrapped up. Anyway, story time. Duster, muscle car, first one. I put a set of headers on that car, and I was like, man, headers are cool. They make the car a little louder, add some horsepower. What happens if I just don't connect the exhaust? And I never did. I drove that car every day for like a year with the open headers. Just drove it everywhere like that. And, you know, it was fun. We had a good time. And then we learned that, you know, being able to hear music or other people or think in pretty much any capacity while driving was also pretty cool. So we put some cherry bombs on it, just header mufflers, and called it good. And then drove it around like that for another year, and then I blew it up. But by the end of that, I had a 3-inch exhaust, which is still on the car. Oop. 12-inch cherry bombs, the shortest ones I could find, and headers, because I wanted the car to be obnoxiously loud, which it was. And will be again once we put that 360 we built in it eventually. We will, of course, have to do something about all those crappy Speedmaster parts we bolted to that thing. I'm thinking Promax is another pretty good budget brand for go fast stuff, so we might put some Promax stuff on it. I had Promax heads on my Corvette. I think I got rid of that car before I started YouTube. In fact, I'm pretty sure I did, but ow! You can go back and look at my old video and my older videos and see if you see an orange and white creamsicle Corvette. I have some video of it somewhere. Maybe I'll put that in. Anyway, those are on now. We have the Generation 1 Duster exhaust installed on the automobile. We still have to do some trimming over there on the starter to make that fit, but we'll do that next. All right, now that I've got my safety glasses on, we'll just nip the corner of that little aluminum block off of there, and it'll fit. We're not using the outer set of bolt holes on this guy anyway, so we're just gonna go ahead and, you know, remove them. Oh! Wow. That's not good.
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
We'll clean that up, and then we'll fix this wire and that wire. That just ripped in half. I don't know how I didn't see that coming. That was kind of an obvious shortcoming from this plan. It ended up actually being just a couple of pretty easy splices. It just pulled the connectors out.
Are you sure about that?
Back, put new ones on. Should be good to go there. So I'm going to pick this guy up, hook all of our cables up here, and then we'll see if our modification on the corner here was enough to make it fit. I think it was, judging by how that fell out of there so fast. But, you know, if not, all we got to do is nick a little bit more off. So I think what I'll do first is swing it up there without any of this stuff on there, just to see how it fits, and then we'll go from there. I'm gonna disconnect the battery real quick. I probably should have done that first, but I mean, you know how it is. Here's your 10-second update. I tried to fire up the car without the head or the exhaust connected, you know, because open headers. And I touched the positive terminal to the battery and it cranked the engine. I said, oh, okay, something's touching where it's not supposed to. Pulled it off. And now I have no power at all. So either bad wiring or a bad solenoid. Bad solenoid means I'm not getting to school in the morning. Bad wiring means I'm up all night chasing wiring and I'm just tired for school in the morning. So we're gonna start with that. I just made my last run to the parts store to get some wire and connectors, and hopefully that's it, because they're closed now. Everything's closed. It's Sunday, and yeah, we're in a bind right now, ladies and germs. The odds are that the solenoid on the starter is fried and doesn't work. So we're gonna try to replace it. If it's not the solenoid and it is the starter, I have to try and figure that out. I'm extremely agitated. I didn't even touch the electrical system in this car, and now it doesn't work. So, hip hip hooray. There were many splices and just bad insulation all over the existing wiring harness to the starter, so I cut a lot of that out. And there were like 50 of these big barrel things in there. I thought they might have been fusible links, which is what I was looking for. But in trying to find those fusible links, I found a bunch of crappy wirings. So I'm hoping that now that I've repaired all of that with new wire and new connectors, I even heat shrink them. You know, I'm naively hoping that that was the problem. So I'm going to crawl back under. I'm going to route this better than it was before, and crawl back under and try and hook it up again. And I mean, we'll see, I guess. The other thing I did was I ground down the end of this guy a little bit, so it maybe won't touch. Maybe. We'll see. I'm running out of ideas. So I'm hoping that one of these things that I've done here is the fix, because like I said, I am kind of burning my candle at both ends here, and well, I would like to go to school tomorrow. So yeah. Okay, I got a whole bunch of new wire ran and that didn't do anything. And I've been doing some more research, and I have power nowhere except the headlights, and that is indicative of a blown fusible link in the V8 Buicks. And I'm perplexed because we replaced the fusible link with wire like just now, and it still isn't working. So I tested all of the fuses in the fuse block for continuity, and they're all good, and they're barrel fuses anyway, so I could see that they weren't blown, but now I'm getting paranoid. So check that. Those are all good, which means either I've got another fusible link somewhere in here that's no good, or something, but I'm not getting power to anything but the headlights, not the tail lights, not the brake lights. So basically every time you see that error, you're looking at some kind of blown fuse or fusible link issue. And you can see I've been chasing grounds and all kinds of stuff. I'm running out of ideas. So we're gonna keep scrambling here. I'm probably gonna cut back some more of this harness tape here and see if I can't find another fusible link in one of these globs of tape. I don't think so, but it's not going to stop me from looking. Because there's supposed to be two in the car, a 14 gauge and a 16 gauge. And what we have there is the 14 gauge. And what we have, where'd it go? There is the 16 gauge. And we replaced both, which is why I'm very confused. And this one did look warm. You know, it looks a little melty. But we replaced them. And we still... I don't know. That's not going to stop me from bashing my head against the wall until we figure it out. So that's what we do here at Road Hazard. I did go to the parts store earlier and order a new solenoid for the starter. We'll vainly try that tomorrow, but in the meantime, I got to keep trying today. So I've been looking at wiring diagrams for this car to see if there might be another fusible link somewhere in the harness, but haven't found anything yet. So I'm gonna keep digging. I'll keep poking around with the meter and with my fingers here and see what we can dig up, but this is where we're at. I've made progress. It's now 1 in the morning, but I have figured out power to the car and power to the lights. So now I just need to figure out power to the solenoid to get that to work. I had something wired incorrectly, even though I just put back on what I took off. It's kind of weird. Whatever. But with the I guess I'll leave that there. With the positive terminal hooked up to the battery, I've got the fan switch on in the car. Here, run. Dome light, gauge lights, no lights, but I have that one disconnected right now. But I gotta run another wire to the post on the solenoid for power, for the light side, and then we have to figure out which wire the trigger wire is for the solenoid. I'm very tired. But you know, this is the life. Working late in the garage and getting it done. I have an idea, or at least I know where I want to start, which is this wire. I'm colorblind, so I can't really tell what color it is, but it's either brown or purple or something of that ilk. And on the wiring diagrams I found, there's a wire of this color going to it. So let's try. I've got it stripped back now, but when I found this, when I stripped back the 700 yards of old, crummy, disgusting electrical tape that left the goop over everything, there was a piece of torn heat shrink, same as this kind, and we found a similarly torn piece of heat shrink down there when we first started. So I'm thinking maybe somehow it's that wire. We're gonna figure it out. Or die trying. And by die trying, I mean pull an all-nighter and then be very sad at school tomorrow. that rant I went on a while ago about how when you drive your old car every day, you're more likely to actually fix stuff that breaks, is the truth. And the easiest way to tell that is a case study known as me. If I was at home, even though I'm daily driving the Buick, I'd have said, "F this," and went to bed about 3 hours ago. And then it would sit in my driveway for weeks, maybe months, because I hate electrical more than anything else in the world. And this is why. But instead, I'm out here at 1 in the morning figuring it out. And yeah, I'm exhausted and my back hurts and a million other things, but I've learned some things through my many hours of research into the electrical systems on the A-body General Motors vehicles. And, you know, I never would have if I wasn't here doing this. And, you know, I would have eventually thrown in the towel, either asked my buddy to come help me, or taken it somewhere and made it someone else's problem, but it's my daily driver. My options are fix it or never leave the house again. Or incapacitate my brother and steal his car every time I want to leave. I'm not doing that. As funny as that would be, I'm not going to do that. Phone. Ugh. Yeah, you don't believe me? There's the time. I already crimped that one. Oh my god. Look at that connection there. I even used the heat shrink do-dabby thing. The light wire now. Headlights. Trade. Alright, we got the lights and main power figured out. Now we just have to figure out the trigger wire for the solenoid. I think it's this guy. I'm not positive. I've done science. I hooked up my meter. I set up my phone camera, pointed at the screen here, and we learned that this wire has 12 volts when cranking, and only when cranking, which means it is probably our trigger wire. So we can hook up this wire to the solenoid, and to that we should have some kind of thing happening. We got it just kind of jammed in there for now. I'm gonna go twist on the key, see what happens. Hopefully the answer is something. Jesus. Oh, it won't. Okay. Alright. That Yep. Okay. Only when, okay, well, the solenoid is sticking. So, I guess it's good that we ordered that solenoid yesterday. The parts store lady said it would be here maybe at 9 or maybe at 2. So if it gets here at 9, I might be able to like Uber there or something and pick it up and bring it back and hope and pray that it's the same. I just replaced the solenoid on the starter, which means, of course, pulling the starter again for the 47th time. That number might actually not be an exaggeration at this point. I've had that thing in and out 5 billion times. Okay, so the news, I don't know if it's good or bad per se, is we found our trigger wire. It's that one. The solenoid is sticking. It's also not pushing the Bendix out. So we've either got some other kind of wiring issue or it's just, bad solenoid. So I'm really hoping it's bad solenoid, but that's not going to stop me from digging around a little bit more before we throw in the towel and just wait for that new solenoid to show up tomorrow. I should have known with the crappy Amazon distributor and the crappy Amazon spark plug wires and the crappy Amazon valve covers that were on this car when I bought it that everything was going to be some crappy Amazon thing. It's a Yeshui, or maybe an Itapup, or an I Need Up. They all have the same part number because it's just the same Scamazon crap. Or maybe it's a Ski-Doo. Point being, moral of the story, first of all, it's out of stock. I couldn't buy one even if I wanted to. Second of all, it's the cheapest Amazon piece of crap that he could find, like everything else that he put on this car. So, buyer beware when you buy used stuff. Ask them if they are comfortable buying car parts on Amazon. And if they say yes, don't buy it. Find another one. Okay, I've done a bunch more research. It's like 2:30. I'm so tired. I've learned that you can get these high torque mini starters pretty cheap as long as you're willing to, sell your soul to China. So, we will not be doing that. I'm going to try and find one on like eBay or something, or Marketplace maybe. I'll buy it just to have a spare for tomorrow. Today, I think we're about done. What a long day. I came out at 9, 10. It's 3 a.m. Good Lord. Alright. Enough jabber. Time for sleep. Alright. It's been 3 days. Got the part. I actually ordered a solenoid and a starter just in case. So I got a package from Speedway containing this, which is the solenoid. This is the old one. Looks pretty damn close, except, hopefully, this one's not barbecued like that one is. The thing we have left to do before we can throw that in the vehicle is crimp some connections on that trigger wire we found, just to Well, it was a second ago for you. It was a few days ago for me, so I gotta remember. It's this one. So we have to actually crimp, and we'll throw some heat shrink on it too, just to make sure she's all hunky-dory there. And we'll clean all of this up as well before we run the vehicle, obviously. But I think that's all we've kind of got left there. We'll get all the tools that are scattered around out of here and get the garage cleaned up. It's been a mess. I haven't touched anything out here since the last clip we recorded, which, like I said, was 3 days ago. Okay, that old starter is just toast. I put it in, and I was doing the same thing. I mean, it was working consistently, like all the wiring was correct at least. Pat myself on the back, but it wouldn't work. So I went ahead and threw in the other one I got here, and this one's much smaller, which is awesome because the clearance we have now is phenomenal. I mean, we have miles and miles of space between and around everything, and I didn't actually have to modify this one to go in like I did with that one. So we'll keep that one for parts, I guess, but I got this one in. I got the bolts tight, shim is in there, everything's wired up. I'm gonna go bump the key and see if we've got un starter. Cross your fingers, ladies and germs. Oh! All right now! Woo! I'm gonna turn that off real quick because I heard hella exhaust leaks. So, oh, that's such a relief. Ah! We'll make sure everything's nice and tight. It very well could be one of these unions down here too. I'm not sure, but I'm gonna go nut and bolt check all of the exhaust related things that we've done here real quick. The headers, all of the connections down there, and etc. And then I don't even care. We'll pull it out, clean up the garage, and get a listen to that new exhaust. It's running. It's doing car stuff. It's leaking exhaust from this swirly area. I think that's all the paint burning off. Oh yeah. There's that leak right there. Collector gasket leak, not super worried about. It's both sides. Wow. What a haul, right, fellers? I mean, we put in some freaking work on this thing. The garage is just a tornado of junk. But we did it. We figured out that electrical problem. Did all that diagnosing. We got the new exhaust on the car. And it sounds killer. So what I'm gonna do tonight, because it's late again, is we'll button up that little exhaust leak. I'm gonna clean everything up. And then tomorrow, when it's not late, we'll take her for a rip, get her on some wide open poles, and see what kind of racket she makes now with them new long tube headers. All right, here's our finished product. I rerouted this belt and got a new one so it would stop shredding itself to pieces. That's just something that happened. Anyway, headers installed on the car. Both sides, of course. I have a traditional style, just a thin gasket in there now, and there is a tiny bit of a leak at the header, so you'll have to ignore that. But listen to the chop. And of course, some riffs. Makes a pretty good racket with the new pipes. The tonality when driving is also definitely better, and I can get a little bit more RPM out of it now that it can actually breathe. So moral of the story, this was a drivability upgrade that also happened to add like 40 horsepower.
You can just barely hear the tickety-tickety. It's this back one.
But it's so small, so done. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you, every like, every comment, every subscriber. While you're at it, hop down there in the lower bits and press some buttons. I really would appreciate it. And I put out a video like every other week-ish. I might miss a day here and there, but you know, I'm always there eventually. So thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.